Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og það aftur í góðsjá.
Hello and welcome back to
best ever
season 4 of that. Season 4. You know what they say, season 4, they're begging for more. They do say that. How have you boys been during the great void?
Extremely bored. Severely missed football.
There's no other football in the world, you're right. No, there's been no football to watch.
None that lives up to the standard of the bester.
No.
No.
Amen to that. I don't know, man. Jordan Pickford has been a pleasure to watch, is all I'm going to say. That's the only Premier League reference we're going to make today, but love it. Anyway, how's it been?
Good. I was really hoping the game yesterday, the cup game yesterday, to have it watch, in Mesterabadlet. It ruined it a little bit to have it in that indoor hall. It's not the greatest start to the. I'm really hoping the snow clears up before the weekend, because I really hope the league doesn't start indoors. There's a reason how Cow aren't in this league.
Once again, we find ourselves discussing, every year. This league is about to start, and like you just spoiled for the audience, the cup games are already underway. Round of 32 just wrapped up. Or are there a couple more games to go?
I think there is one game left.
Right. Anywho,
the champions.
The champions? What game is left? Sorry.
Vestry Lake near.
Ah, very good. Very good. This league starts too early for the Icelandic weather, yes or no?
Maybe.
I don't know, man. Every year it seems to start at a time point where the weather makes it very difficult.
I mean, I think any time in previous years that I've been watching, at least, this time in April has been okay. We've just been very delayed with winter this year, which has thrown a spanner in the works. But with the clubs that still have the grass pitches, they always end up indoors for the first couple of weeks anyway.
Oh, well, not much we can do about that. We're not here to bitch about the organization of the league. That comes in every other episode. We are here to kick this whole shebang off, the preview episode for season 4, which means that I guess this is the 4th time this league is ever played. It's got to be. It can't have predated us. So
it's like the Premier League. It just started 4 years ago. Yeah,
exactly. There is a little asterisk by this stat that this sort of football in Iceland is only 4 years old, but Coward have actually won the title a very large number of times, way more than 4. So these things can coexist. It's okay. But we already started talking about the cup, so why don't we talk a little bit about the cup? 5 teams from Bestadeildin are out already. How do we feel about that?
I suppose there's not many massive shocks in there. Like with your EB Vafs, Keflavik 4, it was sort of one of those that could happen. And while it's still pre-season technically, even though the cup started for them, it's sort of just a point of gauging where they're at, I suppose, before the season really kicks off. And I guess 1 or 2 things to worry about for them, with being touted to be down the bottom anyway.
That's true. Then you have your Fram, who lost to Vikingur. I guess that's also not no one's going to be like, oh my God, what? It was just a game that I guess we all expected Víkingur to win. And then KR 4, Valur 2, I say neutrally.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, KR have started the season scoring 3 to 6 goals every single game, so that was to be expected. But they didn't concede 3 to 6 goals, so that was nice.
That's the sort of major change so far. Because you telling me that KR is scoring 3 to 6 goals per game does not necessarily put my mind at ease as a standalone stat.
No, and this is a little bit what's wrong with the preseason a bit, and there's been a lot of discussions about what to do with the preseason. There was someone who proposed that maybe even starting the cup earlier and doing some sort of group system like they do in Sweden, where they have like a group stage of the cup before the season starts, to have it a bit more serious, a bit more serious games before the league starts. Because the League Cup, who won the League Cup? Does anyone remember?
Fylke?
Oh yeah, against KR. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But it's also like, it's so, I mean, I'm sure Fylke fans are very happy about that, but it's such the League Cup is because it's also happening at the same time as all these different other sponsored tournaments, and nothing really matters, and then these forms mean nothing, and it's actually, isn't it, this feels like the first time in a while that the cup starts before the league, isn't it always like one round of games and then the cup or something like that? That's how my memory has it.
I think it was certainly that way last year, and possibly the season before as well. It does feel strange.
Always.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one other season, barring those two and this one, ever in existence, despite KR's numerous titles.
So it's a bit strange to start the season with a KR Valur game that kind of inside, so it didn't really feel like it meant anything, but it is the cup, so like especially for these teams that, I mean, obviously we'd like to win the league, but with Víkingur and Breiðablik being Víkingur and Breiðablik, this is a very good chance for both of these teams for silverware in Europe. So it's quite an important game. But nobody, I don't know, the form of some of these teams isn't super great right now. So it's a weird.
Well, preseason in general is a bit strange here to me, anyway. Like, what is it dubbed the longest preseason in the world? And it started in December for some clubs. Like, some of these sponsored tournaments were kicking off then, and then when you've got the League Cup going on, you've got all these teams that postpone their games to fly off to Tenerife and have their training camp. I don't necessarily like the idea of rearranging the cup to make it a group stage and do it Swedish style, but I don't know, maybe rearrange the League Cup to possibly have a European place instead of third or fourth place in the league, and make it more interesting that way.
It's spoken like a true Englishman. Making the League Cup means something.
Yeah.
It just needs a cool sponsor, and then everyone will be interested.
I guess sort of a main thing. I don't know. Do you think that the form here matters nothing at all, or do you think the discussions of IBF, Keflavík, and Thor have sort of, with the relegation worries, do you think sort of bad cup form is a bad omen, or do you think it just doesn't matter at all?
I think it doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, we saw last season that it can not necessarily be a great distraction for a team that's down the bottom end of the table. So maybe they're not too worried about that. Although I'm sure they would have loved to have gotten off to a great start and got a win on the board early days. But like, we look at IA last year, and they didn't start the greatest and nearly pulled themselves into the top half by the end of it. So I'm sure they won't be too worried about early season form, especially teams that have maybe brought in a lot of foreign players that have only just got to the country or not had too long with their teammates. It's still like before the league season, so they're probably gelling in a little bit.
Yeah, I think Keflavík and Thor, I don't think it matters that much. I think Thor, especially going out to FO, Keflavík, so they would be annoyed going out against the neighbors. IBF, I think it was maybe more for the manager to it would have been quite nice for him, the new manager, to come in, get a win against the lower league opposition. Ease some of the. I don't know what the worry level is in Vestmannaeyjar. Outside Vestmannaeyjar, it seems to be quite high. They're predicted to be, 10th or 9th, like 9th, I think, or like maybe 10th is the highest I've seen them being predicted. So I think for IBF it could have been nice to maybe ease some worries, but the promotion teams, yeah, like you said, it's not the most important, especially not for Thor going. But on the other side, for FO, beating Thor like that, when everyone is basically writing them off, and some people are even predicting them, 9th place and relegation battles, beating them that comprehensively is quite good for Jokerit.
All right. Well, seeing as we're sort of, I guess, drifting into talk of the season, a season preview, if you will, perhaps we should segue into our season preview. And I have a little idea that because in past seasons there's been a some form of best of pod ever prediction table. And if my memory serves, this is typically taking the form of one table each per host, right?
Yeah.
I think it's time for a shakeup. You know what they say? Season 4, time for something more. Or, in fact, less, because less is more. So I think we should do one table, and we don't have that table ready on purpose. So what I think, at least for the purposes of you listeners, so what I think we should do is we should make our prediction table together, because the real prediction table is the friends we made along the way. So I'd say we do that. I hesitate. We could sort of draw in the TikTok crowd. This is not hip anymore, but it was for a while. Have you seen this sort of Snapchat TikTok thing where like you'd have to rate things from 1 to like 1st to 10th place, and like you'd only see one item at a time, and you had to lock in that thing's position immediately? Do you remember that?
Oh, full blind ranking.
Yeah, word. That.
Mhm.
I don't think we should do that.
I think we should do that.
Yeah,
I'm on board to do that.
okay, should we do that then?
Let's go for it.
Okay.
Why not?
Oh, perfect. This actually, dear listeners, was not planned. So
Can we do like a random spin wheel so they come out in a rogue order as well?
ooh, excellent. I can do that if you want. Do you want me to do that? Here's a little shrum I'm going to tell you. So I have in front of me the table from 1st to 12th in what appears to be alphabetical order. Now I'm going to say to a certain artificial intelligence, randomize the numbers 1 to 12 for me. Want another shuffle? No, I don't, dude. You already gave it to me. First, right off the bat, is Keflavik.
Starting tough.
So Keflavik, for those of you, so I just want to throw out there as well, right off the beginning, we had a little comment, on our episode Yelling at Clouds. This is 6 months ago. A little comment from Gregalina. Greg, either Greg, Alina, or he's like a little Gregalina. And he says he'd love for us to sort of explain some of the historical rivalries between some of the bigger clubs, supporter culture, etc. Are supporters typically based in each club's neighborhood, at least in the capital region? With Iceland being a smaller league system, how detrimental economically is relegation for a club, and conversely, how economically important is promotion? Also, I noticed when I was there that clubs seem open in playing young players. Found that interesting. So I suggest we take Gregalina's comment, keep it behind the proverbial ear, whilst we go through this. Keflavik is about half an hour outside of Reykjavik, which in Iceland makes it an entirely different place. It's also about 5 minutes from Grindavik, which makes it a totally different place. And they don't like it when you talk about them as the same exact place, even though it does sort of fall under Reykjanesbær. This is Keflavik, famous for its airport, international airport, and the sort of previous U.S. military presence, and the sort of resultant pregnancies that occurred. They also have like a donut with everything, and I don't remember what it is, but it's some sort of local delicacy. Their fans are typically based in Keflavik. They are also
I think
typically
so.
basketball fans rather than football fans, but they'll take what they can get. I think there's little sort of diaspora. I guess the people who moved from Keflavik to Reykjavik, which I think is the only way to move, they could support Keflavik from afar. Their rivals, I guess, are Grindavik, or sort of anyone in the sort of region. Reynir Sandgerði.
Njarðvík, probably.
Njarðvík, of course, famously. Let us begin.
Yeah.
So they don't have any marquee signings. They just came up. Are they the weakest?
They're the least fancy team. I think they're the most sort of solid. They have their goalkeeper, like the first choice goalkeeper, Sindri, left to Sweden to be with his partner. So they have a sort of young, talented Ásgeir Orri goalkeeper who's a bit of a question mark. I mean, they have one of the best players ended up there. I think Ragnar's favorite.
Anton,
yeah.
I mean, full respect to the guy. I respect the game, but I hate him when I'm playing against him. But he's Diego as well is the same. All of these guys, like, I get it, guys. I'm not a hater, but good God, playing against them is infuriating.
It's so fun to watch, though.
I know. I know.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to be depending on a few like stalwarts, Frans Alvarsson, Nacho Heras, Anton, these sort of guys, and then up top, you know, Khalid Al Ghul and Mohamed Al Ghul. They're going to be key, but like, yeah, there's no big marquee signings. It's really hard to know. Like, is this going to be? Are they just going to have enough? You know, it's going to be IBVF of last year, just going to be enough, and they're going to be mid-table, and everything's going to be fine, or is this a relegation team that's never really going to get going? Like, they have to get going quickly. I think if they take time to get going, then
are they worse than IBVF and Thor? It feels a little bit dirty to be referencing other teams in the discussion because that's not what this blind ranking is supposed to be. But like, we know the things that are to come. But I mean, the smart money is on putting them 12th, surely.
I think every ranking has them 12th.
Very good.
It does feel a little on the boring side to go with them in 12th, but I struggle to see.
We could always go 11th. 11th is sort of like, it's basically 12th, right? It's like over 90% of the way there.
It's a little bit nicer. Yeah.
It's nicer, and it's
we can't start off with 12th. We got to go 11th.
No, word.
Yeah.
I'm there for it. Keflavik, 12th place.
But of course,
place. 11th place, sorry.
They are absolutely top in our ranking of signing introduction photos.
Of course they are. They yeah. If you guys don't know, then I guess re-listen to last season or just do a quick Google, find their signing photos, their press release stuff. Amazing. They really need to start making more signings because this stuff is gold.
There was a time, I think we talked about it, when they were being linked with like Arnór Ingvi and Elias Már, like they were being linked with all the old boys coming back to Keflavik, and then none of it happened.
No, thank you. I guess that's a bad sign. I guess if no one had faith enough to go back, I don't know. 11th place it is for no other reason than the fact that we didn't want to be like everyone else and we don't want to start with 12th.
Yeah.
That's fair. The number 2 randomized number is number 2. Ooh, that can't be a coincidence. That is FH, Fimleika Félag Hafnarfjarðar. There, we sort of dropped a little bit of talk of them at the top, did we or did we not? I don't know, but sort of new team, new manager, shaking things up, doing their thing. Reason to be optimistic, or is it going to be like when KR were like, hey, we're going to redo our whole squad and we're good at attacking now? And
I suppose that's what remains to be seen, but I don't necessarily buy into the way they've been slated, I guess, over the winter for how they've handled things. I mean, I think it's pretty common that you bring in a new manager, and he had all this talk of revitalizing the club pretty much, and started by getting rid of everyone that had been there a while, which I don't see a problem with that. There's no room for nostalgia or like being best friends with someone in football if you're going to be ruthless. But it hasn't gone down well in some parts of the football media here. But whether that's friends of friends, who knows?
Surely not. In Iceland and FH of all places.
Couldn't be, right?
Surely not. No, there's no way.
I mean, it did strike me a little bit of like the whole discussion about last few years has been that Heimir has basically been keeping this club alive along with Björn Daniel. Like they're the two players that like there's nothing else. They would have been relegated. Like it basically that's been the consensus. They've been absolutely terrible, but you know, this legendary manager and legendary player have been keeping this team alive. The manager leaves, you know, sacked or whatever, but he's gone. And then the Björn Daniel is semi-retires. I think he's player manager or something at a lower league club. And then yeah, people go up in arms that they change everything. But surely it's good to change a team that sucks. A team that is nothing without these two people who have just left. But it's like, no, you must keep this team that sucks.
Everything must be the same forever.
It's this sort of devil you know thing, isn't it? That like, yes, we suck, but surely we can't change it. What if we suck?
Yeah, I mean, if
if
you look
it's
at
been
the
shown to
predicted
be like
sort of,
good enough.
I mean, if you look at the predicted lineup, like it's almost a new team. So it's and it's quite young. I mean, going back to the question, it's quite a young team. They're very much, the strategy is that they're going to go for young resellable assets. To talk, you know, romantic football language. And I don't understand how Kjartan Kári is still at that club. I don't know, maybe just getting terrible offers or what, but like, I don't know. If he doesn't leave in the summer, then I don't know. Yeah, but a lot is gonna be on him. And I mean, they started well with against Thor, but as we said, the cup is maybe not the best indicator. The manager's had a pretty good reputation. He's done okay in Denmark, you know, albeit at a pretty low level. Yeah, I have no idea. I want to like people have like they've been getting predicted, like I said, down to like 9th, 10th.
We can't let other predictions spoil our purity. Surely.
I mean,
not.
are they going to get into the top half in the split?
I want to put my neck on the line and say I don't think so. I don't think they'll be as low as people have been putting them, but it definitely is like a rebuild year and go again next year. You can't have this much upheaval, I don't think, without there being some consequences. And if that's dropping out of the top half from where they've been the last couple of years, then I think that might be the case.
I'm hearing like 7th, 8th.
I was thinking 7th.
7th.
Yeah.
Good.
7th it is. Fimmleikafélagið, then 7th.
But you got to give some sort of fact. You give the donut.
I do have to give. So, Fimmleikafélagið, the sort of what are Fimmleikar?
Athletics.
Athletics. The
Gymnastics.
Gymnastics. That's what I'm looking for. The Gymnastics Association of Hafnarfjörður, as they are named, are a team that plays in Hafnarfjörður, which is entirely separate from Reykjavik. And don't you confuse it. They are fully grown together, these two places. For some godforsaken reason, it's totally not Reykjavik, even though it's definitely just sort of a suburb of Reykjavik. But it's not, though. It's really not. It's its own town. This is important. It has a nice little harbor-ish sort of thing nowadays where you can go have pastries and beer and whatever, and that's cool, and stuff like that. Otherwise, I mean, I don't know. They're just they enjoy being from there. They're sort of classically the sort of jokes. Every country has these jokes, you know, where you're making fun of a certain subset of people or foreigners. Isn't that a thing? You know, where it's like not in sort of like a horrible racist kind of way, but in this sort of lighthearted, mean sort of way, where it'd be like, well, you know, what do you? I don't even. What's an example?
Like, how many blondes does it take to screw in a light
Yeah,
bulb?
screwing a light bulb, that type of shit. But in Iceland, it would be about people from Hafnarfjörður, is the classical thing. Their fans, I guess, can be everywhere because really it's just Reykjavik, so it spreads out from there. They go to university. I mean, everyone goes to university in Reykjavik. Largely, they get jobs somewhere in Reykjavik because it's the same place. So their fans are kind of spread over the capital region, concentrated in the fully distinct city almost of Hafnarfjörður.
And they're also a
Hafnarfjörður is also
new.
on the way to the airport, famously. You have to pass by Hafnarfjörður to get to Keflavik, to get to
And
the airport.
if you keep your eye out, you can see their world famous sports hall as well.
Yes, which there's no hanky-panky surrounding. There's no weirdly sort of appropriated funds. There are no strings that have been pulled or political influence wielded in any way connecting to this plot of land and the buildings thereupon. 7th place for the Gymnastics Association. The third number is 11, boys and girls, which puts us at Valur. Valur. Silky Smooth. These are famously rivals of KR and or Fram, sort of the big old capital region clubs. They play very close to downtown Reykjavik, which is itself quite close to where KR play, which is itself quite, I guess, it goes KR, Valur, Fram in terms of sort of geographic linearity. Their fans are within the capital region, largely. What do we have to say about them?
They have some lovely flats next door.
Ah, yes, wonderful, expensive apartments that have been built next door, overlooking the pitch.
Overlooking Reykjavik Central Station.
Ah, yes, of course, Reykjavik Central Station for the buses coming from the airport. Stuff like this, you know, they're just a good old-fashioned football club that's been around for a while and hated by KR. Yeah, I don't know. Is there more to say about them than that? Valur is a bird. What's it called? What is a valur in English?
Oh, I should know this.
It's not a hawk of some description. It's a falcon, a jar falcon. That's a weird.
It's
anyway.
Also the national bird of the country.
Very good. And wasn't it that they were trying to like name the club, and the legend is that one of these falcons did something. There you have it. That's the story, boys and girls. That is the story.
They have a chapel on their grounds as well.
That's true.
I don't remember why, but it's an old chapel. Yeah, it's yeah. So that's Valur.
Yeah. It's hard to sort of answer this guy's Gregolina's questions about sort of where supporters are typically based. They are sort of concentrated, I guess, around where the people are concentrated around where the facilities are, because there's a lot of sport participation in Iceland, especially among children and young adults. And this happens a lot through the local clubs. So if you live around Valur, chances are you'll do some sort of sports at Valur, same with KR, same with Fram, etc. But there are an absurd number of sports clubs in Reykjavik, considering how many people live there. Because, I mean, in most places, there's nowhere near that many, right? Like, I lived in Aberdeen, which is, I guess, of similar size to Reykjavik, and there was a couple of clubs in and around that area, whereas Reykjavik has, easily dozens.
Mm-hmm.
If you count Hafnarfjörður, which you shouldn't, but you can. Anyway, Valur. New direction, young players. They've had a couple of years now of splashing the cash, being sort of, wanting results and being very grumpy when they don't happen. Is this a fair characterization?
I'd say so. They've sort of turned into, like, I don't want to say fickle supporters, but they seem to turn sour and negative very quickly if things aren't going as well as they think they should be.
Yeah, and things haven't really gone very well. I I mean, they had a chance of a cup. I mean, again, for their size, for the amount of money, they've won the league back in COVID time, right? Ish. And
Mhm.
like, so they do win once in a while, but it's like for the amount of money, they were the ones that brought Gilveseusen back, and he famously left them for vegan good
Mhm.
because of the lack. I mean, I don't think he ever came out to say it, but I think it's very obvious that he realized he wasn't going to win anything in Valur, and that says a lot
Yeah.
about that club at that point. So they've gone a bit of a 180. I mean, they still have some of their expensive players: Jonathan Inki, Tryggur Rapp, Holmarud, Patrick Pedersen, but Fredrik Skram. So like, it's still quite an expensive team. It's not like they've sold off a bunch of people, but the people that have left, retired, like Aronio and those sort of guys, they're starting to fill up those positions with younger players, younger signings, which they always try to do, but then they would sign these guys and then they would never play, and then it never really worked. So the idea now is to give these guys a chance. They hired Herman Redason as the manager. Yeah, I don't know. I was struck. I mean, again, you can't take that much out of the game yesterday from against KR. I was a little bit struck, and maybe I was projecting, but the tone that Herman took after in the post match, it was very like frustrated. It was very, I don't know, trying to come up with some ideas of why this happened, and he also said one of the strangest things. I need to maybe watch that goal for the 10th time, but like he said, our first goal, if anyone scores a nice, your beautiful goal, then our first goal, then I'm something. He's going to be, like, he used an Icelandic expression that I can't remember what he said, but he's going to be like, and the goal was, I mean, they played the ball up and then crossed it and then scored, and I don't know, it was a header from a cross. It was all very like, I don't know, he seemed very nervous and seemed very like stressed, and I don't know, maybe I'm projecting, maybe he's having a bad day. He didn't want to be there. It was cold. But yeah, that whole game gave me a little bit of like, they were starting to kick out at KR players. They weren't hanging their heads a little bit like they've done in previous seasons, but I don't know. It gave me a little bit bad vibes, that game, from a very small sample size.
I do worry about them a little bit. Obviously not that much, but I worry a little bit like they're going to have to start the season without their talisman in Patrick Pedersen. Jonathan Ingi might be out now after appearing for all of about 5-10 minutes yesterday. So, yeah, big changes. Possibly a couple of players missing for fairly long periods. Could they be last season's KR?
Ooh, very good. I mean, they had so much firepower, right? And they were quite sort of a battering ram. They had a lot of power, but they fell apart mentally. At least was my sort of take on them. That sometimes they would just fall apart as a unit, but they were always fully capable of scoring a bunch of goals and sort of really steamrolling a team if they wanted to. So if if Patrick is out and Jonathan Ingi might be out, and they might have some trouble or more trouble sort of goal-wise, and you're already picking at maybe there's some sort of mentality issues right off the bat, that would be a dreadful combination for them.
Yeah, I think the goals will be a huge question for them, because I'm not sure who's scoring. Because they have, I mean, Oscar, KR manager, said it as well in the interview. Like, if you let them have the ball, they have the quality to create something. I think if you don't let them have, if you sort of pressure them a little bit, I'm a little bit struggling to see how they're going to score I mean, them against Vikingur is going to be a bloodbath at this moment in time. I think Fredrik Skram was one of the players of the game yesterday. Not that he prevented like thousands of goals, but he made some very good saves. And he's also had his injury issues. If they somehow lose him, I think that then I don't know. They could be the shock of the season.
So 12th. Yeah, it's open. Famously, it's an open slot on our ranking now. I mean, we're not going below 6th for them, or what?
I think it'd be a bold move to do it. I think. Do they have Europe to worry about this year?
They ended in second place last year, so they do have Europe to worry about. I don't know. It's pretty gangster putting them in 8th. It's a wide open slot with their name on it, but we might look a right set of fools.
Hey, maybe there's a good clip out of it.
Yeah, this is where the blind ranking, because I think my hot take is to put them 7th. I think 8th is pushing it.
8th is sorry, we got FO sitting pretty. 8th is pushing it, but FO has already claimed 7th, so it literally cannot happen because they're going to be 7th. So 6th feels like such a non-committal move. Like, oh yeah, let's put them top half anyway. Like, come on, guys. 8th is really, but are they really not going to make the split?
I mean, if it depends. Like, if Patrick is not coming back until, like they've said, they're not super sure. Like he said, not until the second half of the season. Like, if somehow he doesn't fully come back before the split, then, like, I mean, if he comes back after the split, he's gonna make sure he don't get relegated. But like, if he's not fully back before the split and they have some injuries.
Well, this is also assuming that he comes back the same player.
I find it fun and interesting to put them in 8th place. But are we then just sort of clickbait controversy merchants? Or do we genuinely believe this? Do you believe that Valur is going to be 8th?
No. Question mark?
It's not like out of this, because there are good teams. The thing is, there are some good teams in this league, but then they need to click. Like, and again, this is not the point of this game, but like, if the other click, like, I think on their best day there are 6 better teams than Valur. But the problem is, then, like, we had Kawa last 2 seasons that don't show up until like mid-August, and then then they decide to play football, and then you have IA that, like, there's so many question marks. So, like, I think there are easily 6 better teams than Valur in this league.
Maybe we sit on the fence and they're joint 7th, but 8th on goal difference because they're missing Patrick.
Oh, that's cheating.
That's still saying 8th. Do we really want to say 8th? We're really leaning towards 8th here.
I feel like we've had more discussions with them about bottom half than we have top here.
All right, Valur 8th place. It's locked in.
If we're right, we're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, that's Nostradamus shit.
Yeah,
we're gonna be talking about this for centuries.
I'm taking that money to the bank.
Exactly. Ooh, what we should do is, once we get our little ranking, we should put a huge bet on it.
Gamble responsibly.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up is number 4, which is IA. IA, we have to be very, very careful. So IA, first of all, they're from Akranes, which is also like sort of half an hour-ish outside of Reykjavik, especially, I mean, now after the tunnel has been opened. I say this as if this is recent. This happened in like 2001. But for anyone who sort of remembers even vaguely what life was like before the Hvalfjarðargöng, the Whale Fjord tunnel, it was a game changer for Icelandic society, and most likely for Akranes. I'm not too well versed, but I would assume that this was a strong economic booster for them, or at least it would have spiked housing prices. They play in yellow. I don't know much about Akranes. I assume the vast majority of their fans are local. Then, of course, there's the diaspora, the people that went to Reykjavik because of work or school, which, again, has been made easier because of the tunnel. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times, and sort of it's a place, I can't say much more than that. I'm sure there's a lot of good. I just haven't experienced it because I haven't been there very much. But we have to be very careful talking about them because they sort of have a weird relationship to the things we say about them. They either get very offended if we shit talk them and are very good, or they get very complacent if we say nice things about them and they are very shit. So it's difficult to speak about them. So they will do neutrally. They will have a series of 1-1 draws.
Sounds like a lock-in for 6th to me.
Yeah. So they have Altne Marino in goal, who also we've had interesting talks about. He's either the best goalkeeper in the country or he's very out of form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the whole team was terrible last season, and they almost got relegated. I mean they should have, if it wasn't for Vestry just collapsing. Sorry to bring that up.
Thank you.
They would have been relegated, I think, and I don't think anyone really saw that when they brought in Laura Zorri, who's some people might remember the name Laura Zorri Sigurðsson from by playing in West Brom and Stoke back in the day, like way back in the day.
Mm.
He did some managing, but then sort of was mostly just a TV chair. Pretty good one. I always liked him, but wasn't anywhere close to being management. He wasn't linked to any jobs, not that I knew of. And then became the manager of IA and just turned everything around, and they've been amazing. And then they've signed probably the two biggest names in this transfer window, in Gísli Eyjolfsson and Guðmundur Þórarinsson, to Iceland. I mean, Guðmundur Þórarinsson maybe a bit more Iceland internationals. Gísli Eyjolfsson was the best, I think, player in the league back when he was here before he went to Sweden. Guðmundur Þórarinsson has been playing all over Europe. He's quite a reliable player, and I mean for the national team and others. I mean, they also brought Böðvarsson from FO. They've really strengthened this team, and their big ideas of how they're going to do this season. And I agree. I think is going to be very careful about how this goes, because this could go really well, or this could go to absolute shit. Because I mean, they brought in some young players, and they have some young players, but it's quite an old team as well. I mean, they had their main goal scoring threat last year was Viktor Jonsson, who is an amazing goal scorer, but when he wasn't scoring, they weren't scoring. Árni Marino was amazing 2 years ago, and then just everything leaked through last year.
It's hard. If we give them a 9th or 10th, they're going to be 2nd or 3rd. If we give them something like 3rd or 4th, they're going to be 11th, right?
I mean, on paper, they're going to finish. They're going to finish like 3rd or 4th. Yeah.
So you think we go higher than 6?
Like on paper, they're one of this is one of the best starting lineups in the league.
My initial thoughts was looking at 4th, but then I might be falling into the hype that's been surrounding them the last few weeks since these signings. One thing that struck me when I looked through some of them was maybe there's a bit of a worry about the age factor, like you mentioned. Like if this is a somewhat aging starting 11 or playing on one of the few grass pitches, are they going to struggle at home if it's sticky and a horrible summer?
How do we feel about 4th? 4th is like third is a real commitment to say.
How about 5th?
5th. Okay. Sigurd likes 3rd.
Should we go 4th?
Bang in the middle, why not?
Very good, yeah. I feel like 3rd is such a statement. And it's gonna go to their heads, quite frankly. They can't handle it. They've shown that they cannot handle it. This is interesting. IA is number 4th in this alphabetical table. Whoa, this gets more interesting. Guys, IA are 4th in the alphabetical table, hence they were number 4. Number 4 was also the 4th number called in this randomization, and we placed them in 4th.
It's a sign.
Surely, like if this isn't a sign, I don't know what could possibly be. This is madness. Okay, wow. Number 9, Stjarnan. Stjarnan are from Garðabær. Garðabær is Garðabær is Reykjavík. Yeah. But it's the sort of it's where rich people live. So they can sort of run their own local government there. Is Garðabær part of Reykjavík?
I think it's. I don't know. I thought it was going to be the same as Hafnarfjörður.
Right. It is a separate thing. Yeah. So it's its own municipality there. 20,660 is their population. And it's where rich people live, where they go and have expensive houses, and they don't have to their local taxes and things don't have to contribute to the well-being of the rest of us. They can keep it there to make their town nice and good. There's a number of politicians that live there, etc. It's the sort of place where you go if you like being rich and you think that you deserve it. I guess their fans must be pretty local. Stjarnan were a bit of a joke a few years ago. They were considered a bit of a kindergarten. They were sort of a nothing club. The Nouveau Riche. They were not even Riche, just the sort of Nouveau, the Nouveau Gauche. They were famously, they started bringing these drums and stuff, right? Their fans playing the snare drum and things, being cool in the audience and things, which I guess is fine, right?
We don't mind drums.
Do we not like drums? What was our take last year?
We don't mind drums. We don't like megaphones.
Drums. That's right. Yes, I was thinking I was about to say that surely I don't mind drums, but what if I said that I did? But no, it's megaphones. Megaphones are not real vibes. Drums can be real vibes.
No, that's true.
I
mean, for me, Stjarnan are the second wave of FO. I think FO was the first wave of this. Not everyone could have a place in the Reykjavik 3 clubs. So then they started playing in Hafnarfjörður, and then because there's a lot of people with kids, and then FO got pretty big because of that, and then Stjarnan is the second wave of that. I guess the next one is going to be IR or something.
Yeah, I do agree, because they built a lot of these sort of high-rise buildings and neighborhoods around there in Garðabær as well, which increased the child population, which increased the number of people playing for Stjarnan. So they kind of just came up through that. I don't like going to see football at their stadium because the sun sets in your eyes. And that happens every game, and it's really annoying.
It is extremely painful. It's also very open to the wind.
Yeah. So I think that is really dumb architecture, and I don't like it. I also don't... They had a bit of a sort of thing with Coward. There was a little bit where Coward was okay and Stjarnan were okay, and we had that cup final and stuff. Left a poor taste in my mouth, quite frankly. But... But here we are discussing Stjarnan. They've been decent for a while now.
Yeah, and I think that this season is a big pressure season for them and for their manager, Jörgur Elísabetharson. He was, when Jörgur came in a few years ago, he was the Icelandic Klopp, I think, right? Which also says how long ago this was. And he did pretty well with them, and it was a very young team that he took these very young players that have then since gone abroad and are doing okay in Scandinavia, but they never really kicked on. But they had some investment in the last few years, and they've had investments last year, and they had investment this year. And I think if they start off badly, then there was already talk last year that Jörgur was under pressure. Because they were sort of semi-challenging Víkingur for a little bit, and then when they were actually challenging them, they kind of wilted and fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of when Coward beat Stjarnan in the League Cup semi-final or some such, a pretty nothing game. Apparently there was that was a 4-0 win or something for Coward. Apparently. So the Stjarnan fans left early and were grumping about Jörgur. So there are rumors of discontent, at least in Garðabær, and I think that with all, they brought in Birnir Snær from Kawa, or I guess he was owned by Kawa for a little bit, They brought in one of the best central defenders in the land. In Gustav Kjeldsen from Vestri. And their front line is pretty stacked now. There's midfield as well. There's no more excuses, I don't think. and I don't know. This is so they have to perform, and if they don't perform, I could see Jukut being one of the first managers to go.
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be a lot of pressure on him straight away. I mean, as we may well remember, I stuck my neck on the line at the split last season and predicted them to win the league, and then they wilted pretty quickly. But as you say, they've certainly strengthened the forward line. And with that, I think there's going to be that extra bit of pressure to perform. But I can't see them usurping the Vikingers and Breiðabliks of the world still.
No, and I'm a little bit afraid that they might not bottom half, but I think they're going to be closer to 6th than 3rd.
Ooh, one might call that 5th.
Well, that might be awkward because my soft spot for Stjarnan wants me to put them in 3rd.
Oh no. I mean, it's either 3rd or 5th. I think there's no question. We're not putting them in 2nd and we're not putting them in 6th, right? I mean, they finished 3rd, 4th, 3rd in the past few seasons. They like this sort of area. We're not supposed to really reference other teams, but like you have Breiðablik, you have Víkingur. We don't really know what we are going to say about Kauer in all this, but we have famously already knocked Valur down significantly. We've already written off FH. If we're going to put them in 5th, it means we're putting someone else in 3rd, which is sort of totally non-biased. Part of me is cool with.
No, we'll let Jamie have this one. Put them in 3rd.
Just Stedland in 3rd?
Yeah.
I'm a closeted Stjarnan fan for the season. Again.
All right. Fine.
I think their goalkeeping situation is something too. Like they try to bring in Rosenaren, right? Am I making that up? No, he was an FO. Sorry, they try to bring in someone to help Árni Snær. Now I'm completely blanking on who that was. They've sort of looked into a backup plan for Árni. Yeah, I don't know. I think that could be something because I wasn't always super impressed with him at the back, so that's a question mark for me. But yeah, I'm excited. There was fun to watch.
Very good. 3rd it is for Stedland. Our next number is 1, which is Breiðablik. Breiðablik playing Kópavogur. Kópavogur is. I need to brush up on my sort of Reykjavik, Icelandic sort of geopolitics. But Kópavogur is its own, also its own municipality, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, because famously you can drive from Reykjavik to Kópavogur and then back into Reykjavik on the other side if you're driving out of the country, in one direction. Out of the city, rather. So it's like a weird little thing. And then back into, can't you do like Reykjavik Kópavogur or something? All in one direction. Sort of, it's weird. They play there next to the highway that takes you places, including Garðabær. They're quite close, though, to sort of downtown Reykjavik. If you just follow this highway towards the center, you get to shopping center Kringlan quite quickly. They're also very close to shopping center Smáralind, so they should never run out of sort of the essentials, these people. Famously, they have sort of a good academy, this club, decent facilities. All that jazz. I don't know what else there's to say about Kópavogur, really, other than just that it's a place, you know. Some people get lost there. They think it's confusing in how it's set up. I guess GPS has largely solved that issue, which makes Kópavogur near perfect at this point, I assume. Apparently, Trondheim is a sort of friend town of theirs. So is Wuhan. Oh. Interesting. And Odense here in Denmark. Cool. Breiðablik. Breiðablik have famously been quite good lately, except last season they finished in 4th. The season before that, they won the league. Then the question is, how do we feel about them this season after the changes that they've made.
The history of the last few years dictates they're going to win the league because Viking Good are going to go deep into Europe, get distracted, but like have no Europe, and they're going to win. That's how it's been for the last few years. They've sort of taken turns winning and getting into Europe, respectively. But they looked very bad last year. We talked about it that there were a few clubs that were very happy that Cowhead was such a basket case. Val and Valur were also kind of imploding, sort of in that circle. Breiðablik they were in the spotlight, but not nearly as much, I think, as a normal season. I think they had spent a lot of money, brought in a lot of players, and they did terribly. They were only saved because there wasn't anyone like, you know. I mean, they weren't actually safe because they were fourth, so it was still a horrible season for them. I mean, you couldn't. I mean, it doesn't really matter for Breiðablik if they're fourth or fifth or sixth. If you're not in Europe and don't win the cup, and it's just a terrible season. So, they fired their manager, brought in Olo Rinki from the Icelandic national team setup. Started off well. They did okay in the last few games in Europe. In the Conference League, so that gives. I mean, that was the bright spot. They were in the Conference League, but that's kind of now become the standard bearer for the biggest Icelandic club. They need to get into the Conference League group stages.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't brought in a striker, which is a big thing. Tobias Thompson, their main striker last year, left. They did struggle for goals. You know, they brought in Valgeir Valgeirsson and Ole Valur last year, but they didn't score nearly as much as they should have, or people were hoping for. They have players like August Torri, who's a lot of clubs are watching, so he might get snapped up in the summer. Yeah, I mean, they're a very good team, but I'm not super sure, unless Viking Good kind of get distracted. I'm not super sure they're as good at Viking Good.
Yeah, agreed. I think the interesting thing to watch with them this season is we haven't really seen what they're going to look like in the league under Ólafur Ingi, because I believe he just took over for the European games, didn't get a league game, or maybe got one or two.
He got the last league game against Stjarnan that he needed to win. He didn't.
Yeah. So we haven't really seen how his team is going to look in the Besta. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch. But yeah, I also sort of don't worry about anything with Breiðablik, but the interesting conversation around them is going to be where the goals are going to come from, who's going to step up this year. Are those two or three names that sort of disappointed, might be a stretch, but didn't perform as they might have hoped last season, going to step up and grab the headlines for them?
So I'm not really hearing that they're going to keep up their trend of fourth, first, second, or fourth, first, fourth, fifth.
I can't look at them being fifth. I think, for me at least, it would have to be second.
Yeah, I think something absolutely horrible has to happen for them to end fifth. Yeah, so I think by this blind ranking, we have to put them second.
All right, Breiðablik fourth, first, fourth, second. Breiðablik locked in to second place. Then next on the agenda, boys and girls, is number 12, which is Víkingur. I promise these are random. We're not just discussing them in order like this. Víkingur. Are we just going to put them first? Does this require extensive discussion?
I think it's the easy option, isn't it? I mean, they've basically got two squads which on paper, well, two 11s that on paper could probably win the league. Sure, they're going to have Europe to worry about again, and we'll be hoping for another deep run. But if you've got essentially,
that's why you have a second squad.
Exactly.
Yeah,
then
I mean,
it's just a matter of like maintaining sort of unity across two squads. I guess that's the difficulty sometimes, right? Trying to create a cohesive unit out of so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the main talking point. As soon as as soon as people aren't happy or someone, I mean, Viking have been priding themselves on keeping a very tight house over the last few years. So that shouldn't happen. So I think if we start hearing something, then we can start to worry about them. But yeah, I mean, if you look at like Fotboll.net made 2 starting lineups for them, and if you look at the B team, it's got players like Tariq Ibrahimovic, who's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
And Aron Ellis, who was also like, he was injured a lot last season, so I guess maybe there. And then Johannes Kristin, who's also like a new signing, who was one of the best players in the league before he left.
Yeah, they've also done a bit of like clearing house, so to speak. They've sort of moved on some of the older squad members from the last couple of years and brought in a little bit of youth to liven things up and add to that already extensive competition they've got. So it's a deep squad at this point.
Yeah, I think the only way, if we want to be critical about them, is like at some point that defense. I mean, they're not that old. Is the problem for other teams, but at some point that defense is going to break. I don't know, and we just don't know when that is, of Oliver Ekroth and Gunnar Vatnama. Problem is they also have backups for them, but yeah, I mean that they have been the key. Like you could tell when they weren't playing that they did struggle a little bit last season. So like at some point that will break, and I guess for other teams you have to hope that it's this season. Probably not.
Yeah. So 5th place.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. Now we can get locked in at 1st. This makes sense. Next up on the agenda is number 6, which is K.A.
You didn't talk about Fosfor.
I didn't talk about Fosfor in Reykjavik, which is where we can good play. It is a nice little part of town. It's close to the hospital, one of the main hospitals. So you can get home quick after you were born, and you can die nice and quick too. It's got this and that. It's kind of close to Breiðholt. It's kind of close to downtown. It's kind of close to this and that. So it's nicely located. It's got a lot of sort of middle-class housing there, which I guess was where they draw their youth from, but they got all that Europe money, which is how they're funding their sort of main football departments, right? I thought they were cool as a kid because they played in red and black. It's kind of a dope color combo. Other than that, I mean, Fosfor, what are you going to say? It isn't in Reykjavik. It's definitely considered Reykjavik. Their fans are probably mostly local, except now they've been so successful for a number of years. I assume the people that, I don't know, is there so much plasticity in Iceland? I feel like people are so like actually connected to their sort of local clubs that it's weird for someone to all of a sudden start supporting Víkingur. If you're from somewhere else, like you're from Vesturbær and all of a sudden you're a Víkingur fan, like why? What are you doing?
It does feel like the plasticness has been avoided so far, but from a non-Vikingur fan side of things, they do feel a bit like Man City at the moment.
Yeah. So maybe you'll start seeing kids running around in Víkingur kits.
I mean, yeah, Gylfi and all those sort of. I mean, they were traditionally one of the big teams, and then they just completely collapsed. And it was only after Arnar came back and revived them that they became.
I mean, they won the cup or something, right? First, isn't that what kickstarted this golden era? What did they win?
Yeah, I think they won. They were there for one of the first things they won was the cup.
Yeah, and it sort of precipitated this greatness of theirs. But anyway, K.A. Akureyri, the other Reykjavik. Now the K.A. Akureyri is up north. This is the furthest we've traveled so far from the cozy confines of Reykjavik. This is about a 4-ish hour drive north. And it's a lovely place. The bus is free, right? Parking is largely free, I think, still. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they have a nice little swimming pool that you can go to. They put béarnaise sauce and fries and meat in like a sandwich, and it's really delicious. And you can also put it on pizza. You can go skiing there. Stuff, it's quite a nice little place. If you haven't been there, I recommend it. But it's
they're
up
one
north.
of the. They're one of the, at least for me. I mean, I haven't lived in Iceland in such a long time, so maybe other people would be better suited for this. But for me, they're like one of the only towns. But it's also because they're one of the bigger ones, not Reykjavik, that have like a recognized accent. Because like Icelandic doesn't really have different accents. I think someone explained it to me at some point. That was because people moved around so much that they never really settled in one place for long enough to develop distinct accents. I don't know. That might be part of the explanation, but yeah, Akureyri does have a bit of an accent.
It does, yeah, it's great. They think it's the only way to speak. They're very adamant about how it's the correct way to speak. The rest of us kind of just like, okay, sure, but they believe in it, and I guess that's cool. That's good for them. They're purists in a certain sense about like some consonant pronunciation and stuff, which you can only really respect, right? But here we are in Akureyri talking about Kawa, and my man Diego Montiel, great guy. Love to see him play. I mean, I do. That's the thing. I do like him. It's just when he's not doing my bidding, then I don't like him, because he can be quite annoying.
And he has a friend with him from Ísafjörður, Jeppe Pedersen.
Scorer of the greatest goal we saw last season.
And Rodri from Man City.
That's true.
Just sort of taking a bit of a break from the limelight.
I mean, it's a quite a. They've lost some big players. I mean, we're talking about Bitness Knight in Stjarnan. They've lost Ivar. I lost his middle name. Ivar to Breiðablik. Been a key defender for them. So they've lost a few people, but they replaced them. They've done a bit of transferring. Diego and Jeppe for one, for two, I guess.
2 for 1.
2 for 1, yeah. And then Triple D is back in the league. Daniel De and Juric. Maybe the biggest character in the league off the pitch. But he's also a good player, so not to take anything away from him. He's it's very good to see him back. He went to Croatia for a bit, and now he's back. I mean, famously, they've sucked until July for two years in a row. It worked once when they won the cup. It didn't work last year when they almost. I mean, no, they weren't really relegated, but it was a bit more of a question. They were a bit closer to it last year. And then in previous seasons, so there was a little bit of pressure on the manager, but I don't know, not really. And then you have Hallgrímur, who just keeps getting better and better with age. Apparently, solid team. I don't know, mid-table. They're not gonna pull up any big trees, are they?
They are very big fans of the President's Cup.
I don't know. Like. I'm trying to remember last year, weren't we like really thinking they might make the top half of the split, or am I wrong?
They didn't even win a game until I don't even know when.
Oh yeah, I'm getting that all wrong. Oh yeah, they came good at the end, right, and sort of tried to rock it up. Yeah, my bad. We already said this. I don't know, man. We have 5th, 6th, 9th, and 10th open for these guys. So we're either saying that they're gonna make the top half of the split, or we're saying they're going to do kind of badly.
I think I was leaning towards them trying again for the President's Cup, but failing successfully and sneaking into the top half.
Overshooting it by a few points.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6th is probably
6th for them.
6th
on holiday.
So they were. Could have been better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. They were number 6 in the alphabetical table, and we gave them 6, but they were 8th. Team discussed. It's not good enough for me. Not good enough. Number 3 is next, and that is Fram. So now we have a bit of a decision on our hands. vis-a-vis Fram, because we've painted ourselves into one of the famous corners of this game where we have a team that is all right and we can give them either 5th or 9th. And if we give them 5th, then anyone who comes after has to get 9th or 10th, you know? How do we feel about Fram? They squeezed into the top half last season. They were one of these teams that kind of just did all right most of the time. You know, they were a meat and potatoes kind of team. And of course, Runar Kristins, we love that guy. Kenny Toppard, love that guy. Saw him in a supermarket not too long ago. It's been a while now at this point, but love that guy. I didn't tell him. He didn't look like he wanted to be told. It's a similar team, right, to last season. It's not a whole lot of changes.
Yeah, I do like the stability of. They gave Runar a new contract, didn't they? And they've kept a lot of the same guys around. And to me, seems like last season, especially since Runar's been in charge, they've won up themselves each season. And there's been sort of steady progress there. I don't see why that wouldn't continue. But I suppose your feelings as to where, I know it goes against the blind ranking, whether Cowher are going to be bottom half again comes into it.
Cowher were dreadful. Let's keep this for later. I find it difficult to say from 9th. I find that hard to commit to. I find it dishonest.
Yeah, I think that would be quite hard. They have a lot of really good players. Simon Sibling is and Fred is like, that's 2 amazing midfielders. I'm annoyed that Victor Frey wasn't called up to the Bestatilde national team back in January or whatever, and then they played Mexico. I think he was the best goalkeeper last year.
I think 2 of the key things for them this year will be keeping Kyle and Vuk fit. If they can keep the 2 of them fit, I don't see them having too many problems getting top half. But it is 2 players that have struggled quite heavily with injuries.
Yeah. But 9th is, yeah.
9th is so brutal. But it's possible. It is possible that they just don't do well enough to make the split, and then they sort of stumble at the end, because who cares at that point if you're not going to get relegated? Oh, it's difficult. Someone's got to call it. 5th or 9th.
I feel like I've called a few already. I'm going to leave this one to the rest.
It's on you, Ragnar.
Fuck. Because I'm aware of what I'm doing. You know, I'm not sitting here acting as if I don't get it, because I get it. If I put from 9th, it's because I'm putting Cowher 5th out of some sort of like, and because Cowher beat Bottle 4-2, then I just sort of decided that this is good. Cowher's signings haven't been good enough. This is cheating. Fram is going in 5th. Sorry. Fram, we didn't really talk about it. They played just across from shopping center Kringlan. In sort of roughly-ish, downtown-ish Reykjavik, one of the famous old clubs that Cowher also don't like and Valur don't like. And so Runar Kristins going from Cowher, being such a famously a Cowher man, going to Fram was a little bit like, what's happening here? But you can't really blame him because of how Cowher were and perhaps are. They are just a team, you know, that play where they play and in Reykjavik. And I guess a lot of their fans are going to be in and around there, but they could also just be sort of spread around the downtown Reykjavik area.
Well, they have moved.
Sort of classic.
They are now in the Valley of Dreams, as I've seen it called.
This is true. My point stands. They're going to have fans in sort of Reykjavik, I guess. It'll be weird to have like Fram fans in Búðardalur somewhere. But
I would think there's a lot. I would think there's still some old fans from back when they were good and bigger.
Yeah. Sort of like legacy fans, as you say.
Yeah, like middle-aged, like 35-year-old Fram fans. I'm not such sure there's that many of them. 40-year-old fans.
Plastic famously doesn't biodegrade, so it sticks around, right? That's that about Fram. Up next we have numero 3. Nope, that was Fram. My bad. Ooh, here we have the chance to do something beautiful, boys. 10th on our list is number 10, Thor. So that's 2 10s already. 10th place is wide open.
I mean, Thor, it's one of those. All the discourse around Thor right now is very much Afturhalding coded. It's very much like passion and we're together and Thorpið, like the village. It's all very like it sounds like if you just like substitute the names of the teams, you would kind of think they're the same team. Like that's the discourse. I'm not saying that's how they're setting up or anything, but it's just really hard to know what sort of team is going to show up because they have good players, they made good signings. They brought another Vestri boy, August Edvald, who did pretty well with Vestri. They brought Atli Sigurjónsson, who is a best legend, but he also he had like a game where he scored like 4 goals or something in a game against a big team. I don't remember, Valur or someone.
I think it was Vala.
Or Breiðablik or something, yeah. But he is technically one of the best players in the league, but he is also a little bit older than he used to be. Can he drag this team for 20 plus games? And you have a player like Einar Freyr, who's like this young whippersnapper. There's so many question marks around this team. I mean, they have a good manager, Sigurður Heiðar, who was very highly. Well, he was linked to I think he was linked to Coward at some point when Coward were in that era. But it's so hard to know with this team if it's all just passion or if they have enough to do a whole season.
I'm hearing a hot debate between 9th and 10th. These are the only sort of. You're not going to put them at 12th.
Are we not? Are we ruling 12 out?
I don't know. Like the power of friendship's got to count for something.
It didn't for Afturhalding.
That's true.
I'm kind of leaning towards 12 because again, a little bit cheating, but there's another team I don't want to put 12.
Damn.
I don't know. I partly wanted to just throw a spanner in the works and lean 10th because they have brought quality in. There has been talk of adding Aron Einar at some point this season if he decides to leave the Middle East again. Whether that'll go as well as last time he made a reappearance or whether it'll work, who knows? But there seems to be, and maybe this is just speculation on my part, but something doesn't necessarily seem right when you've got one of the better players from last season who helped you get promoted in Ibrahim Abalde leaving so suddenly with a few weeks to go before the season, citing like differences in styles of play or positional play. Like surely that should have been sorted ages ago, and it just seems a bit like everything might not all be roses there.
Yeah, that was a weird one like that. And I think people were very quick to blame him, I think, for that. Like, oh, he didn't want to play striker or whatever, yeah. But that's true. That does point to something. I don't think you just let your best player just walk out because you had him, yeah.
Well, you can't blame anyone for wanting to return to Vestri, really.
I don't know where to put them. I don't know. I can be convinced of 12th.
Yeah, I wanted to initially go 10th, but I can see the arguments for 12th.
I'll lock them in. Executive decision. They're in 12th. Sorry, boys. Thor are also in Akureyri. So if you need a recap, just rewind. It's up north. It's close to Húsavík, but it's not. Húsavík famous for being in that movie, that Eurovision movie, right? And for whale watching. I always thought that Eurovision movie would suck because people were always like, oh my God, Iceland, it's me. Yeah, ding dong. And then I watched it and it's actually really good. It's funny. Yeah. Next up on the list is number 5, Íbjarðar. I have a feeling this is the team you did not want to put in 12th.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe I'm being optimistic. Sorry, go ahead. No,
be optimistic first.
Yeah, I don't think they've lost enough. Like they've lost Oliver Heiðarsson, obviously, but they knew about that a long time ago. They haven't really lost that much else. They kept Marcel Zabitowski, also one of the best goalkeepers in the league. They kept him.
Yeah.
They've kept like the general spine of the team. They've added some interesting foreigners that we just don't know enough about just to be able to speak about. But they've had they've again, like we've talked about sometimes with foreign players, it's hard to know when they come from Serbia or Lithuania or something like that. It's hard to know what the like these are good leagues. It's not about the league being bad. It's just like we've had it in the past that players choose Iceland not because they want to push themselves to the next level.
Surely not. That can't be true.
That's not to say that that's what these guys are doing. So it's just hard to know what sort of players we're getting. But it's more the point, more to say that they haven't really lost that much. They've just added interesting players. They were nowhere near being relegated last year. I don't think they're going to be 12th.
There was that weird post/close season discourse about this whole director of football thing, which sort of instigated a lot of the changes, i.e. the changing coach and stuff, but it seems to have all gone quiet on that front, and maybe that was less of an issue than it was made out to be.
Yeah, that's also why I think this, because it doesn't, or at least if it is an issue with the players, they've managed to keep it very quiet. It seems to only have been an issue with the manager, which is, fair enough. But it seems like everything else is just going fine, and it's because like with IPVF, sometimes it happens that they lose a lot of players because they don't want to live in Vestmannaeyjar.
This is something we haven't touched on. Yeah, Vestmannaeyjar is a small set of islands to the south of Reykjavik. There, you kind of drive past them if you're going your little golden circle. Does the golden circle cover the south coast? No, it doesn't, right?
No, it's
people
as far
as people either do the golden circle, that's one of the touristy things you can do, or they do the south coast if they want to be sort of tourists level 2.0. While still being sort of very basic tourists, you do the south coast and you drive there, and you go to this waterfall that Justin Bieber had in his music video, and all the way down to the sort of glacier lagoon that was in the James Bond movie. Vestmannaeyjar is on the way there, but off the coast, and you need to take a ferry to get there. I've been there. It's actually quite nice. There was famously a volcanic eruption there in the 70s, right? That kind of fucked everything up, and people had to be evacuated, and it was a whole thing. One person died. The town drunk, apparently. It was sitting somewhere, so that's quite sad. But they've since rebuilt, and people live there, and it's cool. They have a bunch of puffins there, famously. What else? I've seen people. It's like a kilometer long, right? Or not even a couple of kilometers long, right? And people have their Range Rovers and stuff there. It's a bit weird, but I guess they take it on the ferry to go to the mainland.
They're just waiting for the day that the tunnel's drilled.
Ah, yes, of course. There's also, they throw the sort of biggest party of the year there. In the summertime, there's a sort of festival that is there on the Verslunarmannahelgi, which is the first weekend in August, which is often my birthday. And people go there and are intense, and the weather's usually shit, and there's like a stage, and there's some dude playing acoustic guitar. He used to be this old politician who was a bit scandalous in his ways, and then it moved on to this guy who's scandalous in a sort of sexual way, which isn't so great. There's also a lot of sort of sexual assault at this thing, famously, so it's not so great, but overall people still love it for some reason. I've never been. That's the sort of lowdown on IPVF.
They
Or Vestmannaeyjar.
they do go like spelunking or something on off of cliffs or whatever you call it.
Yeah, it's like they have these like rope things, and you kind of like push yourself off and do like a sort of belay thing, but sideways. You know what I mean? Like a.
Yeah, I tried it once. It's fun.
Yeah, it's cool, and you're at risk of really slamming into a rock face, which sort of famously doesn't have a lot of give. So.
They also have the one island that does the rounds every now and then on social media for having the loneliest house in the world.
Yes.
But famously, it's not the most practical place in the world. So like There's
No.
quite often games. I think I was supposed to watch a game there once, and it got cancelled because the weather was bad. It
Yeah.
happens quite a lot that games get moved because the weather is bad.
We were supposed to watch a Coward game there.
Yeah.
And it was canceled because Coward's flight was canceled, and they were all like, "Meh, Coward think they're so much better flying in. Why couldn't they take the ferry like everyone else?" So, which maybe there's a point too. I don't know. Their stadium's kind of dope though. Like, it's got a cool that stadium. Calling them stadiums, and the and the Vesta Stadium are some of the most like beautiful places to go watch a game of football.
They always make the lists that also do the round on social media.
Yeah, I mean, for good reason. It's pretty sick. So that's cool. But yeah, but windy little place though as well. Ipjavav 9th or 10th.
I think realistically, logically, 10th. But that pains me a little bit.
Because you want to be a little wiener boy about the next one. Is that why?
Oh, we're not allowed to talk about the next one until we get there. It's blind ranking.
Okay, so you say 10th, but you want it to be 9th just to be a little bit mean.
Maybe. No comment.
10th. Yeah, 10th.
10th, yeah. We're not mean in this podcast. We're nice. Have you heard how nicely I'm talking about all these parts of Iceland? It's nice. We're nice. Finally, last but not least, I promise on everything I hold dear that this was AI randomized list, that I'm not like, this hasn't been a great build up to here. And Breiðablik and Viking are back to back. This is just the game, you know. I can put a screenshot of the chat if you need it. But here we are in the fabled west end of Reykjavik, the best end of Reykjavik. Meistaravellir, Champions Fields, most league titles, most cup titles. Just to throw a few sort of random facts out there.
Most liked, most supported.
Most liked, most supported. Yeah, just most a lot of things.
Most adored.
Yeah. Great part of town. Great club that so happens to be there. A lot of amazing people that have been born and sort of raised early on in their lives in that vicinity. Kauer. Absolute dog shit last season.
Survived by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah. We like to talk about that on this podcast, how they survived. Sort of at the expense of what and whom. This is something we enjoy.
Yeah, how many weird offside calls there were. I'm over it.
The real question is, how often is Finnur Thomas going to get thrown under the bus this season? And by whom?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, I know this is a blind ranking works, and it's there's a part of me that wanted to switch from a Coward, but like I'm cautiously optimistic about this season. No big signings. The big one is Arthur Ingvi, which could be a huge. I mean, Aron Sig has been a great success. Is probably one of the best players in the league. Arthur Ingvi could be one of the best players in the league. He's not that old. He was playing a pretty decent.
Oh, this is depressing. He's 2 years younger than me. Oh, okay.
Just a baby. Yeah. He has years left to go. He was having a pretty decent role in Sweden still. So they've added a very big player. Potentially, they've trimmed some of the fat off. Not to throw any shade on the players who left, but the squad was way too big. They brought in way too many people. They've had a year, so you could argue they've had a year or winter with very little, changes. They can just work on stuff. There's a new assistant manager. There's a new fitness coach or additional fitness coach. Kept some good young players. Things are better in theory, but yeah, it was so chaotic last year that you can't objectively say that things are going to be fantastic this year.
Trying to be diplomatic, you have to say that it can't be as bad defensively as it was. Like with the extra time to work on these things, and as you say, keeping the squad relatively similar, you have to look at it from there's got to be an improvement, otherwise there's something fundamentally wrong.
This is what we were saying all season last season. You have to realize there's something fundamentally wrong. And Oscar kept saying there's nothing fundamentally wrong.
It's I mean, he has new people around him now, so hopefully there's more voices pushing him to do different things. I mean, you saw it in the Valor game a little bit. It was a very coward performance with a lot of counterattacks. It seemed a little bit more cohesive, but there were definitely a few times when if Valor had a Patrick Pedersen, I think Patrick Pedersen would have gotten 2 goals in that game probably, at least. With some counter-attacking and some stuff. So it's not completely left out. I think Michael Akoto, who we praised a lot last season, I think is going to be great.
Yeah.
I think if they keep him fit, he's going to be key to this defense. There's going to be, at least to begin with, a new goalkeeper. Arna Freyr is now officially the starting goalkeeper of KR for the time being. And he's going to start and he's going to start. So some changes at the back. I mean, yeah. And up front, I think it looks pretty tasty. Eduardo is also one of those players that I think is crazy that he didn't get selected for the league national team. I think put him in Vikingur and he would have scored like 30 goals and been, sold off to Real Madrid or something. I think he was fantastic, and he's a great player. Like even he's only scored 1 goal yesterday, but he was like the way he was doing, like he always does, controlling, getting the ball back to goal and passing, and his passing and distribution is just fantastic. If you can keep him fit and keep stuff moving around him, I don't know, at 9th, I really hope they're not going to be 9th, because that would be an absolute disaster.
It would.
I don't think those guys are going to be there at the end of the season if they finish 9th.
No. I mean, hopefully not. I don't know. I mean, I famously was #Oscar out last season. But I'm willing to reset the shot clock, see what happens. But there needs to be, the main thing that needs to happen from this Coward team is the ability to adapt, like when things are systematically going wrong. Like the stats we saw about goals conceded from turnovers or goals conceded from set pieces last season is just, it's ridiculous. If I want to go on about this again and again, but it is ridiculous. And I think that if Oscar doesn't show this season that he's able to identify systematic issues with the team and address them, then he has to go. You can't afford another full season of being like, hey, you suck at corners. It's just not okay. So that's all I have to say is, like, we're cool, Oscar, but like, you gotta learn some pattern recognition, bro. 9th place. So what we have here is, in 1st place, Víkingur. In 2nd place, Breiðablik. In 3rd place, Stjarnan. In 4th place, IA. In 5th place, Fram. In 6th place, KR. Then bottom half, 7th, Fimleikafélagið, FH. 8th place, Valur. 9th place, KR. 10th place, IBVF. 11th place, Keflavík. 12th place, Þór Akureyri. How do you feel hearing that back? Is it ridiculous or is it fine?
It sounds fairly realistic, but who knows?
Would you have any sort of, if you were given that and said you can make a couple changes, what would you do? Is there anything specific you would be like, we got to move this? Like Tryggvi maybe would move Kawad up a little bit, but there's also not necessarily a reason to definitely believe that. It's the sort of Fram, Kawad, I guess it's the sort of 5th to 9th, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's they're the ones that it's sort of hard to pin an exact position on. They could move 1 or 2 places. They could be exactly where we put them. They could shock everyone and be predicted 5th and drop down to 9th. Be predicted 9th and suddenly pop up in the top 4.
Yeah. So, like, if we were to just be little loser boys who don't stick to their guns, we could sort of present this list as a Víkingur 1st, Breiðablik 2nd, Stjarnan 3rd, IA 4th, and then 5th to 9th is some permutation of Fram, Kawa, FH, Valur, KR, followed by 10th IBVF, 11th Keflavik, 12th Thor.
Yeah, but that's not how the game works.
That's certainly not how the game works. No, but
yeah, no, but I also think there's a chance where one of those 5th to 8th really surprises us, and even or maybe 4th to 8th, 4th to 9th, sorry, actually takes on some of the big boys. Like, I don't think it's out of this world that one of these teams has a really good, like, really clicks into gear. Like, if you look at some of these starting lineups, they click into gear, and then, you know, Víkingur are distracted. Breiðablik maybe don't click, and then you have a real title race going on for the first time in a while. It'll be fun to get someone else, like an IA or Stjarnan or even FO as well.
Yeah, maybe like a KR lifting the title.
It's also very easy to write off Keflavik and 4 as the 2 newly promoted teams, as we sort of have done. But we just don't know how it's going to click for them. Maybe the atmosphere in Akureyri for them is going to work, whereas it didn't in Mosfellsbær last year. We just don't know. I mean, we've done this game. Anyone can finish anywhere. Who knows? Throw it all up in the air.
Very good. Well, I mean, let's see how this ends up at the end. There's one or two more talking points. We're already going on like almost 2 hours. First, we can look at how sort of other people looked at predicted Víkingur, Breiðablik, Stjarnan, IA is how Fótbolti.net did it. So we agree with them in the top 4. They said Thor, IBVF, Keflavik for the bottom 3. We had a different permutation. They put KR in 5th. What up? They put Fram in 8th, FH in 9th. So I guess we'll see. DFF put Víkingur, Breiðablik, KR, Stjarnan in top 4. Thor, IBVF, Keflavik at the bottom. Vísir, we're missing the top 4 there.
Yeah, they haven't published the top 4.
Very good.
Recording.
But Thor, IBVF, Keflavik at the bottom. The top 4 here are clearly Víkingur, Breiðablik, KR, Stjarnan for them in some order. So we're hopefully being harsh to KR. The other is Gregolina, our number 1 fan. He said, with Iceland being a smaller league system, how detrimental economically is relegation for a club, and commercially, how important is promotion?
Yeah, I mean, football finances is something we've talked a lot about. It's just a bit of an opaque mess in Iceland. We always get some income statements or yearly statements from clubs, and a lot of them are being held together by tape and wishful thinking. And I think that is also why we're seeing these teams. I'm not saying that Valur or FO are struggling financially, but I think you always get these stories of players actually getting better wages here than in Scandinavian countries. That's why you're hearing about some younger players coming back home from playing in Scandinavia, and that some of them not do it for the money, but they're getting significantly like a pay rise, and getting paid insane amounts of money when they're 17, 18 years old. So some of the money is absolute craziness, and then look at the income of the teams, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's a lot of it's Europe is traditionally something that holds these teams together, but then it's backers, personal backers as well. We've yet to see a team really, really struggle with relegation, but I don't think we're that far away from it that some team, maybe a bigger team goes down, doesn't come up straight away, and then maybe starts to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's crazy.
There was that talk towards the end of last season of the implications if KR had fallen from the Besta, but we don't really know. At least I've not seen any indication anywhere that the prize money for league finish is relatively ridiculous or anything like that. It doesn't seem like there's too much incentive from the league, but Then you've had the Langedale playoff final has now been dubbed the 50 million krona game. So there's obviously some financial incentive for promotion. As you mentioned, we're not sure how much winning the league would get you as opposed to winning the playoff final. And also then how that translates to if you stay up in the best of, whether 11th place is financially better than 12th, or how much financially better than 12th or 10th.
But we'll discuss all this stuff in the months to come. We could try to also take more of a view, like he says, on the sort of history, the rivalries when people are playing, and supporter culture and things. Maybe try to be a bit more socio-cultural this season. That's the plan for season 4. But this is not it yet, because this was just a preview. Looking forward to, when are the games? Friday and Sunday is when the first round kicks off. Do we have the game? Why don't I have I usually have the games, and then I'm like,
we have a first round meeting of Breivik and Vikinga.
We sure do. I have the games here right now. Friday, so they're almost entirely on Sunday. There's one game on Friday, which is Vikingur Breivik in Forsvord. It's a doozy, kicking it off with a big one. Then we have IPVF FH, we have Valur Thor, we have KR Keflavik, we have KA Stjarnan, and we have Fram IA. So exciting stuff. Tune in on Friday and on Sunday. And then tune into us next week when we will be discussing all of that. The football. Do we have anything else to say? We have to give out the players of the round, the 3 stars. I think we give one. The first star can go to Jamie. Expert insight. Firm commitment in putting Fram in 5th place. Wasn't that you?
No, I sat on the fence with Fram.
Shit. What did you do? You committed to Stjarnan in 3rd. Anyone else want to hand out a star?
I will give Tryggvi the 2nd star of the week. Just all round awesomeness.
Nice. Perfect.
And I will reluctantly give Ragnar 1, even though he put the KR in 9th place by
putting Fram in 5th.
Framming. Yeah. So
Yeah,
by making
I know.
big calls.
But someone's got to do it.
Exactly. That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. Yeah, someone's got to be the fall guy. Excellent. Thank you for listening. We will catch you next week after round 1 of Bestadeildin. Do we have a sign-off phrase? No? Keep the ball rolling. All right.
We'll workshop that one.
Yeah. Okay, bye.